I remember in second grade when the teacher has you get in a circle and you all sit down together and listen to a story or whatever. And I remember sitting next to this girl, and then all of a sudden she like grabs my calf and she goes, "Look at that, that's fat." And that was kind of the first time I ever thought about fat and really thought about my body. And that's kind of where I feel like the thoughts kind of started, which is really sad to think about for all girls.
I think it was always my stomach and my legs. And I think at the time we were going through the whole thigh gap kind of period where all the girls were like, you need to be able to fit your hand between your legs without it touching. And I think obviously as you get to that age, you start thinking about boys and you think about what they want, and not many boys were ever interested in me. So then I kind of thought as well, like, yeah, maybe it's because I'm the bigger friend.
I think a lot of body image pressures are honestly very unique to the individual. Because, you know, for some it might be like, oh, I don't want to get too small, I don't want to get too big, I don't, you know, I want to look good for this person, that person. But for me, the body image pressure was more so I want to look a certain way so that I know that I'm good at my sport. In college, it became a lot bigger of a deal, especially because, you know, my first year I did gain quite a bit of weight. I went from being stick thin to all of a sudden having, you know, curves and you know, little wrinkles in my skin and rolls that I've never had before. I think freshman year was just hard because I was dealing with so many different things that on top of that, now my body looks different and I'm also not performing well. And that was a very tough time, trying to navigate that amidst everything else.
I grew up around a lot of women. I have a lot of girl cousins, aunties, just a lot of women around me. And I can't say I grew up around confident women. I grew up around women that were very judgmental, that were very insecure, and that used to project their insecurities onto each other, especially the younger generation, which was me. It feels like you don't belong, you know, when there's all that pressure. It feels like, you know, you're not good enough. It feels like you're not worthy. And it just doesn't, it makes you feel like you shouldn't be happy with yourself.
It's the comments like, you know, maybe you could add a bit more cardio after the end of your workout, or have you been looking at your nutrition lately, or just small little comments when you're like 12 years old that you're like, that's strange. We're all dancing. Why isn't this just not fun? And then going into an audition space where, you know, you look at the room around you and everyone else's body, and you get an idea of like maybe what they're looking for when they pick out certain girls. Going into that space where like you see 10 girls in front of you who are long and tall, and wanting to just kind of be at the back of the room, to kind of not be seen when you're there in an audition, to be at the front, to be chosen, and you're putting yourself in a space to be like, actually, I'm just going to hide in the back. That's when I sort of was like, oh, I'm here to stand out, but yet I kind of want to hide away. And I think my personality too suffered there because I was constantly, instead of turning that the other way and going, no, I'm worthy enough to go to the front. Like, why am I not doing that? My personality switched, and I actually was like, oh, like they can go to the front. Like they deserve this role. I'm just going to be at the back here and just be small. It's sad because I think there's a lot of potential there that probably could have been utilized if maybe I believed that I was like supposed to be in that room.
It's hard because you feel like you're always having to prove yourself that you're worthy. You always feel like I'm not enough where I'm at. So in order for me to be enough, I have to look this way in order to be enough, when that's not true. Like I was like weighing spinach, all this other stuff, because I thought like me being smaller would help me get my pull-ups or would help me become a better CrossFit athlete. And I realized like I might look good, I might like on camera and photos and stuff, but mentally I don't feel well. My energy levels are down. I'm not sleeping. And so then I was kind of like, yeah, you're smaller, but you're not your best.
By the time I got into high school, I was pretty obsessed with staying healthy. And it got to the point where my mom would make, some chicken and rice and broccoli, and I wasn't gonna eat the rice. Like, hell no, that's gonna make me fat. And, then my breakfast got smaller and smaller and smaller till it got to the point that I was eating a couple grapes for breakfast. And it's, that's terrible as a growing high schooler trying to play soccer every single day and go to school and use your brain. You need all of that to think. So that's when everything just went downhill from there to starting the horrible decline into the eating disorder.
It became like a bit of a badge of honor that I could stop eating. It got to the point where I had to pull out of all my sport because they would take my blood pressure, and it was so low that they said if I was to exert too much energy or my heart rate would get too high, I would just drop dead. And then another one of the checks I did, they were trying to take my blood and they couldn't take any blood because I wasn't drinking water because I thought that made me feel fat. And then it got to the point that they had to rush me to the hospital straight from that appointment. They put me out of the room and just spoke to my parents, and they were like, she's not getting any better. We're not seeing any improvement. Her weight's not getting better. It's dropping again. And so literally straight after that session, they're like, we're sending her straight to a psych ward where she'll have to be there involuntary. We don't know how long she'll have to stay there for, just until she gets back to a healthy weight that we're happy for her to go back out and do life again. I was in hysterics. I was just bawling my eyes out, screaming. I went into my room and kept slamming my finger in the door to try and break my finger so that they would take me to the emergency rather than the psych ward.
I used to say a lot of times, you're just not good enough. You are a fluke. You're not supposed to be here. All the work you did wasn't for any reason at all. Yeah, you're just not good enough. I think that was really hard to deal with at the time because I wanted to be good enough in every sense of the phrase. And when I felt like I wasn't, it felt like my world was crumbling.
You'd go to competitions and other mums are so terrible. They would be telling their daughters oh, you can't eat that before you go on stage. You're supposed to look like this. And you're constantly hearing it, even if it's not directed to you and it's to other girls. You're just constantly surrounded by people who are just not happy with themselves, or they're just trying to change and fit into this mold. And I think subconsciously I always had this part of me that was attached to this long, tall, skinny girl. So it led into a very unhealthy pattern of over-exercising, under-eating, trying to be super clean, and trying to get to this body that, unfortunately, was unhealthy and not sustainable.
So it finally got to the point where I was self-harming, and I felt numb. And so that gave me something to not feel numb anymore. And it got so bad that there was one night that I was like, you know what? If I don't wake up tomorrow, that's okay. And because I was so numb and I didn't want to continue. There was no hope, it felt like. That's when I kind of realized I'm either going to follow through finally with this or I'm not. So I might as well try to get help and stop this now.
I have two younger sisters, and as younger sisters do, they look up to you. And It was just before I moved out, and I could hear my sisters saying things that I'd said about my body to themselves. And that was definitely a slap in the face, because now it wasn't about me and what I say to my body. It was about like what my younger sisters were saying to themselves because of what I had said. And that was a hard pill to swallow, because my younger sisters now were inspired positively but negatively by the way that I was talking to myself, ridiculing their own small, beautiful little bodies, because I was picking myself apart in the mirror. And that definitely started the wake up of like you have two options. Like these girls can be inspired by what you do and how you look at yourself and how they show up in the world, or they can continue to pick apart their bodies because that's what you're showing them is normal. And that definitely started the new thoughts of like, hang on, like this is not what I want.
It wasn't until maybe just out of high school that I wasn't as worried about being that stick thin figure anymore. I was less conscious of how thin I used to want to be, to now, enjoying going to the beach with my friends. Yes, I wasn't a stick, but I was still happy to wear a bikini. I was starting to go to the gym with my friend. We'd go running together. And I think subconsciously I just had stopped thinking about that because I was enjoying what I was doing. I was happy that I was able to run again. Naturally, slowly started pushing away the need to be thin, because I wasn't actually happy when I was that thin, and I wasn't enjoying these things I was doing now. And I don't think I'd be able to be friends with these people if I was still how I was.
A lot changed when I had my son. You know, I finally understood, wow, it starts with this first. It starts with me, it starts in here. And if I don't heal any of here, then I'm gonna pass it down onto my son. You know, I know there's a lot of healing to be done, and you know, it's a hard thing to talk about, you know, especially when it comes to your trauma, especially being very vulnerable about who you are, and you know, just coming to an understanding that we're human and we're not perfect, and it's okay to talk about it, you know. So I think that's what also heals me, is that I can openly talk about my journey, my traumas, my insecurities, because you know, we live in a society where everyone has to look perfect or be perfect, you know, when perfection doesn't exist.
So it wasn't until I got out of the eating disorder treatment center that I started running again, and I got pretty into like running trails, and I started running some races here in San Diego. And I realized, oh, like I do need calories to get myself through long runs. I really started thinking about it then, like, oh my gosh, wait, food is fuel, you know, it's what's going to fuel me to do what I love to do. And if I don't realize that, I'm only going to fall back into unhealthy habits again. So I need to change my mindset from food is bad to food is fuel, you know? So I really had to start looking at my body in a way that it takes me through, empowers me through long runs, and takes me to cool places. And my body is strong, and it looks like this because this is how it's supposed to look to be good at running.
I think what gave me the confidence was social media. At the time, like, I didn't know I had a following because I had posted a video, and the video ended up getting views, and then I got followers, and I was like, oh wow. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just post my workouts. But people liked it, and then all of a sudden it was like, thank you for being the representation, thank you for showing up, thank you for being like authentically yourself. And I tell people that all the time, like, a lot of my motivation comes from those who kind of look up to me, or constantly I'm like, oh, because you went to the gym today, I went to the gym today. And so as much as I am helpful to them, they're way more helpful to me.
Powerful is adaptable. Powerful is recognizing who you are, honestly, truthfully, what you know that you can bring to the table in any given situation, even if that's nothing, even if that's everything, even if it's a small piece. And knowing that you deserve to be at the table.
Powerful is being strong mentally and physically. And it honestly all starts from the mental side, because you're not going to be powerful physically if you don't have a strong mental strength behind you to power you to be able to do cool, strong things.
Strong and confident. Someone who's powerful is strong with their words, strong in how they walk, how they talk, and just confident. Confident in themselves. That's what powerful is to me.
Are you powerful?
100%. 100% I am powerful. I am a badass, powerful woman. Oh my God, I love that word. Yes, I am powerful.
Because I know I am strong, and I know that I can do whatever I put my mind to.
Because I got through some really hard things, and I'm able to now mentally be strong enough to power through easy things too now. Things that would be hard typically, but then I think back on everything that I went through and realize, oh, I can do this.
Thinking about all of the crap I went through and how much I had to fight myself to get to this point, and to not break, and to not give in to the thoughts that I had when I was looking down from a high-rise building, to get through being forced to do things I didn't want to do, to completely flip my mindset, and to get to where I am now. I definitely feel powerful.
Because I have gotten to a place where I know that I have a reason for being here, and I make a genuine impact on people, and it's a positive impact. And I acknowledge the things that I am strong at, the things that I'm weak at. And I think I am powerful because I know who I am, and I know how to take up space where I'm needed and listen where I'm not.
I think I would tell my younger self to be bold and to stand forward and stand tall and not dim her light, because she had so much to offer but was so afraid to be judged. And I would just tell my younger self to not worry so much and to just go out there, give it a go and show up, and no one even cares. You can do this, I would give her the biggest hug.
I think I'd tell her to try to pull herself out of the situation that you're in right now and step out of yourself and look in to realize just how much you need to help yourself, and that you're the only one that can help yourself.
You gotta let some people in. You have to break open that shell a little bit. Otherwise, you're not gonna survive. And you exist outside of what you do. You're not just a machine. You're not just here to fulfill everybody's, checklist of things that you're supposed to do. You have a lot more to give people than just what you do. It's okay to not be okay sometimes.
I thought my worth was tied to what I look like. And now I feel like it's more about who I am as an individual and how can I help other people? How can I love other people? And being authentically yourself should be enough.
Don't worry about what other people think. It doesn't matter what others think. The only opinion that matters is yours. Just wear the crop top, just go to the gym, just show up, just wear the shorts, just do it. I think it's a bold move, but it's also a brave move. Be courageous. You go do you. You do you, girl.